What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 42 of Lobbing Scorchers. This is Ari Lillianwall. I got producer Noah here with me. And Noah, I'm pretty pissed off today. How are you?
Ari, where do I even start? Where do we even start?
It's going to be a tough show today. It's going to be a tough show today on multiple fronts. But we don't shy away from results here on Lobbing Scorchers. We dive into it no matter what they may be. And this week, it's not good, folks. It's not good.
Not good.
The Seattle Sounders went down to Sporting Kansas City, the club of professional wrestling enthusiasts, and lost 2-1, which, losing 2-1 would be one thing, but I think it's the fashion in which they did so that is especially aggravating this week. We're also, unfortunately, going to dive into some U.S. men's national team punditry. They got absolutely boat raced 5-1 in an international friendly with Colombia in a tune-up for the Copa America coming up. So that wasn't great for them. Both of the soccer teams that I'm most invested in and support have had it was tough showings. It was tough showings. And, my first takeaway, I'll just give it right off the top, that I was thinking about at least. Life is inherently meaningless if we're talking about the grand scheme of existence. And we are all but specks of dust in this vast, infinite universe that are ultimately insignificant, not just as it pertains to sports, but life in general. So, I've been really kind of trying, after what had transpired yesterday, I've been thinking about these things on a deeper level. And none of it matters, ultimately, is the main thing that's the conclusion that I've come to. So,
wise Ari.
When you have a day of soccer results like that, it gets you thinking about these things. But in all seriousness, we do have an exciting announcement, Noah, that we wanted to lead the show with today. We have some tough results to talk about, but we do have to get this out there. It's been teased, but we wanted to confirm it. Lobbing Scorchers has been signed. We are joining the team at Sounder at Heart.
Woo!
We realize there might be some questions about this and what it means for the future of the show, so I'll address those right off the top. The motivation behind this is multiple. Number one, we're getting paid.
We're money hungry.
Yeah. I mean, that is, I'm not going to lie, that's a pretty big part of it. When we got into this podcast game, I don't think either of us ever thought we were going to be generating much, if any, money off of it. We were kind of just doing it for fun because we love to geek out on the team and wanted to throw up a platform where we could dish our takes. And if people listen to it, great. If not, I wasn't really too concerned about it. My thought was that we'd probably get maybe 40 or 50 listeners per show, if that, and I didn't really care. I was going to keep throwing the content up there no matter what. But as it turns out, we've grown a nice little community here. We get a few hundred people who download it every single week. It seems like we're growing and expanding, and we kind of have realized that there was a potential that we could add at least a little something to our income every month, which that it matters to us. It definitely matters to me because working for the MLS website on the editorial team, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. I take a lot of fulfillment and happiness from the work, but it's not especially lucrative. So having a
wait. You don't get paid billions of dollars to shill MLS, Ari?
I don't.
Oh my God.
Believe it or not. I get,
Breaking news.
They pay me more than they used to, but anything that I can add on to what I generate off this stuff every month, it is how I make my living, and it actually matters. And so to have an opportunity such as this, where we're going to be getting paid by the show now, it's going to be good for us, Noah, and it's an opportunity that we felt like we couldn't pass up from that perspective. And on top of that, it gives us an opportunity to expand our reach. We feel like more people are going to see and listen to the show now, which that's a good thing. We want as many people to hear it and see it as possible. And this gives us an opportunity to
We're
do
conceited.
that. And yeah, exactly. I have an ego about that.
Yeah.
I want people to hear this. Now that I know that people do download it, I want as many people to do so as possible.
Yeah.
And then also, and this is honestly something that I'm probably one of the most excited things about this for me, at least. I'm going to be doing some written content to accompany the podcast, which I'll also be getting paid for. And that's something I've wanted to do for a while. Like on the MLS website, I don't get to do as much of my own writing anymore. I do sometimes, but I used to be the Sounders beat writer, which I still do Sounders coverage for the website from time to time, but not nearly with the frequency that I used to. Most of my job is editing and web production and assigning stuff to the other writers. It's boring, but also it's kind of, I don't really have a platform right now where I can lay down my Sounders takes in written form. And, even in my beat writing days, that was more hard news. I didn't get to editorialize as much. So I think with the stuff that I plan on doing to accompany these podcasts, it'll be more fun. It'll be more like my own voice. And it'll allow me to kind of put my own style into it and just have a platform where I can write down my thoughts in addition to vocalizing them on the podcast. So all those factors combined, we felt like this was the best thing for us as a show right now. So if you have any questions about how it's going to work, you can hit us up. But we just wanted to drop the news. There'll be more developments on exactly what it means for us and for you, the listeners, in the coming days. But anything to add on this exciting announcement for the podcast here?
Yeah, I'm super stoked. We love all of we basically know every single person on the Sounder at Heart staff, and we admire their work. And more than anything, this is such a great opportunity to just grow the show.
Yep.
And the best part is they don't want us to change anything. They literally were like, yeah, you guys cook. Just cook.
Yeah.
And that's like, have you ever been told, we're going to pay you to cook?
No,
and we're not chefs. We're not chefs.
No, that's a good point. And it's an important point. Like, as far as the content goes and the tone of the show and the types of coverage we do, none of that's going to change at all. It's going to be the exact same thing. So, if you're worried about that and you think that the change in platform is going to change anything as far as the types of coverage we do, it's really not. Like, my plan is to just do exactly what we've been doing to a T, but get paid for it.
Yeah.
And also hopefully have more people listen to it. And Sounder at Heart is they went independent recently, as a lot of you are likely aware. Used to be under the Vox Media umbrella, but is now a fully independent platform. And I think that's awesome. And they've been doing really well with it. And we're excited to join on. And stay tuned for more on that. We'll have more information on exactly how that's going to work.
Can't believe Tom Bogert didn't leak our transfer.
Yeah, I know. He didn't get the scoop on that. Tom Bogues, what are you doing?
What are we doing?
Unless you had anything else, I think we can dive into the rest of the show here. I do want to thank our paid subs, as always. We'll let you guys know what exactly this change in platform might mean for you. I don't really know right now. We're figuring that out, but we'll let you guys know. Thank you for all the support that everyone has given us to this point, but particularly our paid subs. I'll read off the list one more time. We have a new one.
Let's go.
A new one. Samuel Fout. Thank you, man, for the subscription. Much appreciated. I'll go down the list. Nate, Joey, Brenna, Pete, Rhombus, Nate, Tyler, Owen, David, Chris, Bill, Mike, Aaron, Derek Richards, Sounder Naves, Dan Pavetto, Mike Standish, my guy, Ryan Shane, Eric Stanley, my nephew, CJ and Miles Marimanakis, Andy Hill, Ian Mitchell, and Greg Coker. Thank you guys so much for all the support. And thank you to everyone for listening. If we didn't have the amount of people listening to this show as we do, we wouldn't have gotten this opportunity to join Sounder at Heart and get more money off this. So shout out to all you guys. I love you guys. Like I said, I really... I never really envisioned or thought that we would get to a point where we would have an opportunity like this. So thanks for all the support and for listening. And hope you guys continue to enjoy the content as we keep grinding it.
You get more. You get more now.
Yeah. You get more. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good development. I'm excited for it.
Clearly we're excited. Yeah. We can't stop talking about it.
All right, let's dive into this show, Noah, because as fun as that exciting announcement was, it's an unfortunate show today.
It's time.
It's tough. It's tough. We're going to dive into this USMNT punditry first, get that right out of the way. I don't really want to spend a heck of a lot of time on it. Maybe we'll go on a tangent here. But I did have a few takes after what we watched yesterday in this friendly with Colombia, which, like I said, so the U.S. is playing two of these friendlies to prepare for the Copa. One against Colombia, which they played yesterday, and then another one coming up against, you know who this is against, Noah?
Brazil.
Yeah. Way better team than Colombia.
Full strength team too, by the way.
So if how the match against Colombia went is any indication of how this Brazil match is going to go, this could be bad.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's definitely not good. Yeah, 5-1 against the Colombians yesterday, which I didn't really know what to expect in this game. I think we were technically ranked higher than Colombia in the FIFA rankings going into this game, which we probably shouldn't have been. I think we were at 11 and they're at 12. That's what I saw. So, I mean, that's to say that regardless of where these two teams were ranked, I was thinking and hoping that this would at least be a competitive game. I didn't know if we were going to win, but I certainly would not have expected it to be this lopsided. But the fact that we got destroyed like this is definitely not good because we're trying to put on a good showing at the Copa. We're hosting it, playing a lot of really good teams, and this is not how you wanted. This is not the vibe that you wanted to start it off. The one thing I will say is I do think it was slightly more competitive than 5-1. What happened was we got bammed on twice right at the beginning of the game, twice in the first 20 minutes, but managed to stay in it. And I did like some of the footy that we were playing in that. It was a very entertaining opening 20 to 30 minutes. It was back and forth, up and down. Both teams were playing some good footy. It was competitive. We lost complete control of the game state, though. It was way too track meety.
Yeah,
it was
100%.
Way too track meety. I don't really know all that much about Colombia and how they play, if they're that much of a counterattacking team or a transition team. But when they were getting out in transition, we were on our heels, and that's just not really the game state that you want at all against a team like that. We let it get out of control. But, the U.S. did stay in it, and we're able to hack it to 2-1 in the second half on a really nice goal by Fuller and Balogun combined with Tim Weah. And at that point, I was like, okay, we're probably going to lose, but maybe we can scrounge a draw out of this. And also, just overall, I was not feeling that badly about it because it was a back and forth competitive game that, the goals that they scored, the second goal that they scored was an insane bicycle kick.
That was crazy.
That was
really, that was so sick.
I don't know how much you can do to stop that in particular. But the first one, the other thing is that there was just so many bad and dumb giveaways.
Oh, so
which
bad.
is a theme that we're going to talk about with the Seattle Sounders soon. But
it's in the water.
It's just I thought some of the attacking sequences and some of the footy that was played was honestly pretty good, at least in the first half. But the defense was a mess. Cameron Carter-Vickers, the bots, they told me a lot about him back in the day. He plays for Celtic, whatever. I feel like every time he got the ball, he just passed it directly to Colombia.
Yeah.
That happened 4 or 5 times. Tim Ream, honestly, who's been of great service since he got back in the mix. I thought the CBs were a mess in this game. Joe Scally, another bot guy.
Yep.
Not good.
Not good.
And that's not good because Serginho Dest has a long-term injury.
Correct.
And that's one of the big things that this team had going for it at full strength was that fullback duo of Jedi and Serginho Dest.
Mm-hmm.
Dest is injured. Scally is one of the guys that needs to step up. The bots said he was good. He did not. He was under it the whole game.
He was bad.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe some. I feel like every time I do USMNT punditry, I look at one of these players propagated by the bots and I'm like, this guy's not good. And then they're like, what were you watching? He was awesome. So maybe people are going to come at me with that with Joe Scally. I don't know about this Joe Scally thing. That's what I'm going to say about that. I did not think he had a good game. Didn't think Jedi had a particularly good game. Thought the midfield was a mess. That's why we were getting ran on. And
Chris Richards was awful.
Frankly, Chris Richards, for as good as of a few attacking sequences as we did have at times in the first half, I was pretty disappointed in Balogun. this was supposed to be the guy that solidified the number 9 position, and he did have the assist on the Tim Wakel, so I'll give him credit for that. But he's got to be bamming in goals. That's why he is supposed to be the number 9 that ascends us to the promised land, to the next level. I didn't think he looked much like that in this game. He didn't score a goal. Don't think he got all that. I think he might have had one good chance where he almost scored but didn't. But just on the whole, he didn't look all that dangerous. He didn't score.
He gave away a pass that led to a Colombia goal.
Yep, he did that as well. So just really in all around, it was a mess. It was a mess, especially late in the game. And, it's unfortunate in one respect, which is that I remember how pumped I was on this team after Nations League last year, and just how good the ball was we played against the CONCACAF opposition that we had. And, Balogun looked great. He was scoring goals. Gio looked phenomenal. I remember going through and shouting out the whole starting 11, down to Jedi, down to the CBs, Yunus Musa, Tyler Adams. Everyone was balling. And this was in the BJ Callahan days, which shout out BJ Callahan.
Shout out BJ Callahan.
There's going to be a lot of calls for BJ Callahan to get back in.
Did you see the photo of him?
No.
There was this hilarious photo on Twitter where he's just sitting behind GGG, and they zoomed in on him, and he's just sitting there, his face is just no expression. And then there's the next photo is just him holding an iPad, and it just looks like he's telling Greg exactly what to do. I can't believe he's still on that staff.
That's fuel to the fire. He's probably sitting there thinking this would never have happened if I was coaching this team. But I have to say, regardless of your thoughts on BJ Callahan versus Greg Berhalter or anything like that, seeing a performance that bad, I can't help but feel my excitement about the ceiling of this team, which my point when I was gassing the team up last year was not that we're the greatest team in the world or that we're going to win the World Cup or anything like that, but it was more like I could see the path to us becoming a legitimate competitive squad on the international stage, where when you go into a game against, say, the Netherlands, like we did at the World Cup, I could see the path to where this player pool could go into a game like that and maybe not win for sure, but compete. That's what I want to see. I want us to see us go into these games against these heavyweights on the biggest stage at the World Cup and hold our own and put ourselves in positions to where we could feasibly take results in those games. I think that's the next step for this team to reach what its ceiling can be, is to be a credible opponent against these heavyweights, right? And what I saw in Nations League last year made me think that with the talent that we have in this player pool, which I still think, in terms of raw talent, this is the best player pool that we've had, regardless of what you think of that proposition after a result like this. I mean, you still have some class players in this pool. I still love Weston. I still love Tyler Adams. I'm still really high on Gio, despite the struggles he's had at the club level at Nottingham Forest this year. I think these are really good, really talented players. But I mean, you need to show it on the field. You need to go. Colombia is a good team, but they're not super amazing. They have James, who was a superstar for Real Madrid for a lot of years, but he's not what he used to be. And they have another 5 guys or so that are playing in the EPL, but aren't super dominant players or anything. They have John Duran, shout out Chicago Fire, he's doing pretty well at Aston Villa. So they have I would describe them as good, not great. They're like the Albert Rusnak of national teams.
I mean, I think that's underselling it. Because
you think Colombia is that good?
Well, they came into this game.
You think they're so good that they should be boat racing us like that?
I don't know if they should be boat racing us like that, but they did come into this game with a 14-game winning streak.
Yeah, no, that is true. So, and they always their all-time record versus the U.S. is very one-sided in their favor.
Yeah,
and but I don't know. When I was just looking at the starting 11s going up against each other, I think you could give them the edge. I don't know if it's so lopsided in talent to where 5-1 makes sense. That is one team just drastically underperforming their level for it's one thing to lose the game, but to get outclassed, outplayed, outcoached, out everything like that.
Yeah.
That was I don't think that was necessarily reflective of what you would think of the quality of the starting 11s. Maybe I'm delusional for that. And maybe I'm underselling Colombia a little bit. I probably am. I don't know all that much about their team. But
the U.S. is supposed to be this, like,
yeah, exactly.
This team.
We're supposed to be a team that can go into a game like that and against an opponent like that and at least compete now. At least compete.
Yeah.
And to get 5-1, oof, I mean, terrible performance. Even though, like I said, I think it was more competitive than the scoreline. But, 5-1 is 5-1. And when you give up 3 goals from the 77th minute on and played off the field to that degree late in the game, it doesn't mean anything positive. And now you go into this game against Brazil, who's one of the best teams in the world. I mean, we all know.
They got Vinny, bro.
You see what I'm saying? Like, there's levels to it, and Brazil is on one level. I don't think, Colombia is on that level.
No. So you should be getting 5-1 against Brazil,
yes.
Not Colombia.
Yes.
In a tune-up game.
Yeah.
And looking like you've never played soccer together in your life.
Right.
I gotta ask you, Ari.
Okay.
Does this result happen if there's more MLS players on this roster?
So
we gotta know.
Noah had a good tweet about this.
I triggered the bots.
Someone at 1,000 likes. Which, if you had Walker Zimmerman, Jordan Morris, Christian Roldan, Jesus Ferreira, and the whole gang out there, do we get 5-1? I don't know.
I don't think so.
That squad has grit.
Yeah, that squad has great. Well, if you look at the past results, Ari, the last time that the U.S. played Colombia, it was a 0-0 draw. Yeah. And guess who was playing? It was all the MLS bots.
Yeah. Think about it.
Do the math.
You put all the Euro guys out there. Oh man, we're gonna rile some people up with this. The one thing I will say is that anytime the USMNT loses like this, it's actually kind of a win-win from my perspective, because I do root for the team to do well and I want them to succeed. I'm a USMNT fan, unfortunately. I really am. But if they don't do well and they take an L like this, that's an especially bad L, it makes the bots very upset, and that's a W every time. I think it's funny when the bots are upset. The bots don't I don't think they like either of us.
They don't like either of us, no.
Yeah, if there's one group of people whose opinion about me I care about and respect less, than the bots, I don't think there is that group for me. So I like seeing them in shambles like this, but I'm not going to say I like watching the U.S. get boat raced 5-1 in any capacity. So
Greg
I
out?
mean, this is just, okay, so let's talk about Greg. One thing that I was thinking about at the beginning of this game was just how much I don't care who the coach of this team is. I don't think, especially, I've expressed on this show multiple times, I kind of have the Garth Lagerwey view on it. He said the other day he thinks it's 80% your roster, 20% coaching. I think that's about how I think of it. And I think that's even more, it's probably skewed even more at the national team level, because the player pool for national teams, a lot of it is decided for you. It's not like you're building a roster like a club team where you're deciding who to sign, and in the case of MLS, how you manage the salary cap. There's players on the fringes that you can debate. Should this guy get called in? This guy's doing well at the club level. Does he deserve a shot? There's stuff like that where the coach makes the decision and it matters. But I mean, just taking the U.S. pool as an example, your core of Pulisic, Weston, Tyler, Jedi, Dest when he's healthy, Balogun now that he's in the mix, all those guys, you're basically all you're doing as the national team coach is calling in the obvious guys, creating a starting 11 with those guys and putting them out in the field and hope that they perform. Am I bugging? Is there that much more to being a national team coach than that? You can talk about Greg's tactics versus another coach's tactics all day, but at the end of the day, the guys in your pool have to, it's more incumbent on them, I think, than anything, than whoever the coach happens to be. So I just don't think I don't know. You could put a big name coach in control of this team, and if the players aren't executing, it's not. I'm just telling you, it's not going to make that big of a difference. I really don't think it is. But I will say, we've talked about coaches that can give you a tactical edge in a game, in any given game, and I do think that there probably are coaches at the national, international level that can give you more of an edge than others. And I mean, I don't really consider Greg to be on that tier of coach. So, I don't know. I think the Berhalter stock is anytime you take the most lopsided defeat of your tenure as a coach, that's going to hurt your stock. And I don't know, like you needed to be like more competitive than that. So I don't know. I don't know if that take made sense.
No, I think it makes sense. You got to think about what here's the way I saw it. To me, I don't really particularly like the way that Greg played. Like, I don't know if plays is the right word, but like tactically developed this team. That said, who gives a shit? Like, you still have like all of these incredible players who, at the end of the day, if they want to be fluid in play, like people say, "Oh my God, Greg is so strict with his rigid positioning and all this stuff." I'm like, if you've ever played soccer, man, sometimes you just do whatever the hell you want when you're a player out there and you cook. And I think the national team is a perfect example of that. That said, who's gonna come in and do anything else? Plus, they're not gonna fire him till after the Copa. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, if at all. I don't know. It definitely, like, not to agree with the bots, but it definitely, when you see a result like that, it kind of paints the whole hiring process in not a great light.
Well, that was a sham for sure.
It was a sham for sure. I won't deny that. My thing is I just don't really care that it was a sham.
Yeah, me either.
I don't think that whoever they could have brought in would have made that big of a difference. But, maybe someone else wouldn't have gotten 5-1.
Can we just get the women's national team head coach to do dual shifts? Is that possible?
I mean, I'm willing to try anything. I think that'll about do it for USMNT.
Probably
punditry.
too much
We probably went longer on that than we needed to. But I guess on one level, it was nice to get back into it. We didn't do any for like Nations League or anything like that. So, we'll probably, I mean, now that they got boat raced and there's been so much discourse about it, I'm definitely like, we should cook on the Brazil game for sure, because I don't know if it's going to go all that much better, to be quite honest with you. I think that could be just as bad, if not worse. And then, I mean, imagine the discourse. Like, just say it's like as bad as the 5-1. Imagine the discourse. It's going to be good stuff.
Yeah. I will be there no matter what.
Exactly. So to lighten the mood a little bit, Noah, let's talk about the Seattle Sounders.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, thank God we get to talk about the Seattle Sounders, who lost to Sporting Kansas City, the club of professional wrestling enthusiasts, at Children's Mercy Park yesterday, 2-1. And like I said, wasn't necessarily the L. It was the manner of the L. So many just frustrating things about this game. And I have a couple of topics for us to debate. We're going to do agenda check. So let's get into it. I'll just I'll do a little recap of the key moments from this game. The first one I had written down was Albert Bresnak had a very good chance early in the game, within the first 10 minutes of the game, where it was some good combination play with Raul Ruidiaz. I thought Raul did really well to set him up. Sporting Kansas City, not a good defensive team.
No.
They were kind of letting Seattle be on the front foot early in this game. And Ruidiaz set Rusnak up behind the back line, no one around him, and he skies the shot. And I mean, I wrote that one down because the thing that went through my head when I saw that was, is it reasonable to hope and expect your DP number 10 to have a shot with no one around him? He's wide ass open. Is it reasonable to hope and expect that he would put that shot on target?
No, you can't do that.
I mean,
that's too much.
Like, it's got to be on target. It's got to be on target. It's got to be on target. Like, he's so open. He's so open. if you put it on target and the guy makes a good save, tip your cap, more power to him. But I mean, to sky it like that from inside the penalty box with no one around you.
It's ridiculous, Ari. And it keeps happening.
Come on, man.
It keeps happening. It keeps happening. I've given him the benefit of the doubt.
We really have.
But I refuse to give in to the Rusnak haters because their reasoning for hating him is completely wrong.
And it's just over the top.
Yeah.
That's my whole thing with the anti-Rusnak agenda is like, I can understand thinking he's more of a TAM player and wanting like a higher caliber, more firepower type player as your DP. I agree with that. But to say that he's like awful, I don't agree with that. I think it's the truth is somewhere in the middle. That being said, a miss like that really underscores why a lot of people feel like him being the DP10 is not a great allocation of resources. Like a guy like Hani Mukhtar or Lucho Acosta, you think they're missing that shot?
No.
Like
they're at least putting it on frame.
I'll tell you that much. They're at least putting it on frame. So I don't know. That was just a frustrating moment. He's so open on that play. He's so open.
What's the meme? You live in a $1 million mansion. You go and play in a blah, 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 blah. You wear cleats that are $400 and you miss the shot.
Yeah, exactly. To Seattle's credit, they did score the first goal of this game, and this was a nice goal. Jordan Morris on the finish, JP with a nice assist, and I think if there's any positive from this game at all, there's exactly one positive from this game, one, and it's that Jordan Morris scored, and that he's been in a good run of form. He's got 3 goals in the last handful of games here, and it's another like classic Jordan Morris goal where he's making a run in behind the back line. He runs onto a through ball. Poor defending, to like St. Louis let him do the same thing where it's just a wide ass open breakaway. But Jordan has actually been finishing these chances when he gets them. And, I thought he actually had a really good game overall.
Same.
I thought he was dangerous, impactful. He got on the stat sheet. He got the type of goal that this team needs him to be scoring. So I think if there's anyone that I don't blame for what took place yesterday, I would say Jordan is exempt. He should be exempt from any negativity or trash talk for the week. He got on the score sheet, and he played well. It wasn't just the goal. You can score a goal and still have like a pretty non-impactful game overall. I didn't think that was the case.
No, I thought he played really well, and it was Jeremiah who put out a position chart at halftime. He was farther up the field than Raul. We need to talk about how just absolutely, I don't even know what Raul is doing anymore. At this point, we have to put Jordan at the 9. How many more times? He was in on goal more times than Raul was. And when Raul was in on goal, it was like, I'm like 3 or 4 steps behind where I should be, or I'm just not there. Man, like
there was one play where, so this is the only thing about the Jordan with the 9 idea. I totally agree with what you're saying about Raul, but like I thought a lot of the danger that Jordan was generating was from that wide area. And there was one play in particular where Jordan cooked. He mossed his man going down the left flank, put in a great cross right in the mixer, right in front of goal, and Raul is just not fast enough to get there. If he's 1 to 2 steps quicker, it's a tap-in set up by Jordan from out wide.
I think Paul Rothrock would have scored that. I think, not even being facetious.
Anyone who's like a little faster, probably gets on the end of that, and it's a tap-in. And it was a chance that was fully created by Jordan from out wide, and he deserved an assist for that. That should have been a goal, man. That should have been a goal. Jordan deserved the payoff for the work that he did on that play, and Raul just couldn't get on the end of it. But I think that's sort of something that, I understand the problem with the multiple problems with Raul at the 9 right now. I don't even really call him a 9 right now. I don't know what he is. He's like sort of a 10, but he
just gets in the way.
He's like a He's like an 11.6. Is that a
Yeah,
thing?
I think that's fair. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. He's definitely not playing as a 9. Yeah, again, in this game, we've talked about it a lot the last few weeks, but just dropping back way too deep to get on the ball. And then it's like he's not dangerous from there at all.
But don't worry, he ripped a shot from outside the box again.
Yeah, couldn't quite. I mean, that's kind of all he's got right now. And that was one of the closest they got to scoring other than the Jordan goal. But like that's the problem. It's not, he hit a few of those earlier this season in the last few weeks, but that's not going to sustain you like throughout the season in terms of generating consistent offense. Like it's that you kind of saw why, like that the type of shot that he took in this KC game, the one that he barely missed, like he's hit a couple of those, but you can't really live like that.
Yeah, but like how long until you actually make the conscious decision to sit his ass down on the bench and play a striker who has 2 legs, who can run, who can do anything? I mean, I don't want to be harsh on Raul because he's a club legend and like he is someone who I have admired for his technical and finishing ability.
Scored a lot of great goals, won a lot of trophies.
But he can't even be in the right position anymore. And you have to know when it's time to move on. And the time is now. And you have a striker. Listen, I don't think Danny Musovski is anywhere close to the best 9 in the league. But
that's you're going out on a limb with
let me not to be controversial here, but like you have Danny Musovski. You could even play Rusnak in a weird like false 9 position. Like I don't care. Anyone else. He cannot play anymore. I'm done with it. I'm sorry. I've seen enough.
Yeah. I mean, no, I think a lot of people feel that way. There's not a heck of a lot of options, but you could start Moose there. But
anything is better than him.
You could start Jordan there. But I think Schmetzer even had a quote after the game where he acknowledged that, I mean, he needs more from that spot. And I think, you can't really deny that at this point. Sporting Kansas City equalized about 7 minutes after Jordan scored to make it 1-1. Johnny Russell on the goal. I think the thing that people were debating with this goal, which came after a botched clearance, and he ran onto it from outside the box and converted the shot past Stephen Frei. So people were debating whose fault was it? Was this one on Rusnak and RBW for botching the clearance and letting Russell get the shot off in the first place? Or was it on Stephen Frei for not saving what was clearly a savable shot? I'll tell you the answer to that. No, it's on both of them. It's on all 3 of them. It's on Rusnak and RBW for, I mean, like when there's a ball outside the box like that, where they had like 3 guys around the guy who was trying to make the run in the box and they get the ball off of him, that's one where you boot it into dimensions as of yet undiscovered by mankind. Okay. Like you get that ball as far away from your box as possible. And instead of booting it like you need to in that situation, they just poked it right to Johnny Russell, who timed his run up pretty well he smashed the shot.
Yeah.
But like that, I mean, that ball just needs to be cleared. I think that's pretty obvious to me. But then the shot is savable. Like Steph Frei, I think he would probably tell you that that's a savable shot and it's a save that he should make and needs to make. Frankly, that just should never be a goal. No, it shouldn't.
No, I mean, like, listen, Johnny Russell may be the oldest designated player in the entire world, but
excluding Inter Miami DPs.
Excluding, yeah, okay, well, they don't care, but they're still producing, so, whatever. But I mean, that is a Raul Ruiz outside the box guessing shot. Like, Frei has to do better there. RBW didn't cover himself in glory, though we'll get to that. Rusnak, okay, but at the end of the day, you are a goalkeeper. You are the final line of defense. You are a veteran on this team. You got to make that save.
Yeah.
You got to.
Have to. This game was really decided later on in the match in the second half when it was still 1-1, when the Sounders got another red card. RBW this time, another red card. No,
silly.
It's just ridiculous at this point. The amount of minutes that we've had to watch this goddamn team play with 10 men this season It's incredible. I mean, I should have gone down and listed them all. I feel like it's like 5 or 6 at this point. You've had Jackson Reagan get one, Nuhu got one, RBW got one. Who am I missing? Alex Roldan got a terrible one, so that's 4.
Frei
got
rescinded,
one, which
got
rescinded, but still, it just kind of speaks to the type of. I mean,
the entire back line, literally.
Yeah, it's like it is undisciplined. It's costing the team points. It's really frustrating to watch because when you have all 11 players on the field, you actually have a chance at getting points in these games. And when you're picking up these really dumb and unnecessary red cards, you're chalking the game. As soon as RBW got sent off with that much time left in the game, the outcome was preordained. You're losing the game.
Yep.
You're losing the game. You are taking what could be a tie or a win if you have all 11 players and can find a winner, and you are punting points. You're telling Sporting Kansas City, the club of professional wrestling enthusiasts, that do you want these points? You've lost 7 straight games. You need some points. Here they are. We're gonna get a guy sent off. You can just take him, have at it. On the play itself is it's just not a smart play by RBW. He knows that he's on a yellow already for pretty much the exact same foul. And dude, like you're so far away from goal.
Yeah.
So far away from goal. You can just let him run by you in that scenario and you have cover.
Yeah.
You have cover. Maybe he makes a dangerous run, but like he's so far away, you have to take the chance that your teammates are going to cover you and mitigate whatever danger might be there, then pull him down and take your second yellow that you know is a second yellow. I actually did see a couple people like arguing that was a soft yellow. I
disagree.
Yeah. I mean, he pulls him down when he's making like what could be a very dangerous. I mean, I don't know what you could be watching, frankly, to think that that's not.
You're already on a yellow. You're going to get a yellow for a tactical foul. That is the rule. Like that is what will happen.
Yeah.
That how will happen to you in Sunday League,
and
buddy.
even if you think that it was a soft yellow, which I don't, but even if you do, you have to have the awareness to know when you're on a yellow that a foul such as that, you're asking for it. You're asking for it. So I mean, I had zero problem at all with RBW getting sent off there. And I mean, like I said, you chalked the game right there.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that people were talking about with this that I will say, which is that I do think Schmetz put RBW in a pretty bad situation by having him on the field for as long as he did. RBW is still coming off an injury. I don't know. He's definitely not. You can't possibly be 90 fit yet. It's the 74th minute of the game. And it looked like a foul where he got cooked by his man because it looked like he was tired.
Yeah.
It looked like the fatigue got to him, and that's why he did that. He probably shouldn't have been on the field.
No, he should. There's not even a probably. There is no reason that a player coming back from injury who is not 90 fit, who hasn't played a full 90 in a year, is legitimately on a yellow 70 minutes into the game in a defensive position. It is a absolute, like, I don't even know what you're doing as a coach when you see that and let that happen. We've talked a lot about Schmetzer and his sub patterns and the questionability of them. This is inexcusable. This is inexcusable because for me, RBW had a pretty good game. I was going to say I was going to hit that on agenda check, but yeah, we'll get more into it. But just like baseline, I think he had a pretty good game. And when your coach puts you in a position where he plays really hard, he's a kid, he's young, he's going to make mistakes. You as a coach have to understand how to protect a player from himself, and he failed. And that is. You know, I hate that. We're both kind of the coaching isn't always what wins or loses you games, but right there, man, that's hard to argue that didn't play a large role in chalking this result.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad point. I mean, the thing that I wanted to debate, I guess, or discuss, is this the low point?
Man.
I think so.
Yeah.
Sporting Kansas City had lost 7 straight games. They're not good.
No.
They're not. They're even their own fans know that they're not good. They have been one of the worst teams in the league all year. This game was there for the taking. You scored first. You gave up the equalizer, but you still have a chance to win the game, and you just punt them the points. But we didn't even talk about the game winner. I'm sorry, I skipped over that. That's actually an important thing to get to.
Yeah.
So Sporting Kansas City get the game winner in the 80-some-odd minute. I can't remember. And it was some 20-year-old winger that scored it for them. I don't even know who he is. But this one was on Stuff and Frei. I mean, this was the fact that this went in was crazy.
I think his name was Vargas, by the way.
Vargas scored the goal for Sporting KC. He's at an angle where it's almost harder to have that ball go in at that angle than it would be to make the save. What is this?
After this is a quote from post-match here. I'll have Ari read it.
Okay.
From Vargas.
Vargas mentioned he wanted to send a cutback pass into the box, but nothing was there. Quote, the first thing in my mind was to give an assist, but when I looked to see the options, I didn't see anybody. So I thought I have to shoot, and thank God the goal went in. Right. So, yeah, exactly. He didn't even have any supporting runners to put a cross in, so he just smashes it at the goal, hoping that exactly what ended up happening would happen. But, I mean... Yeah, Jeremiah called it the softest goal that Frei's ever allowed. I agree. The angle is totally covered. It can it just can't go in, man. It just can't go in. I don't really know what to say about it. It's a terrible concession. And the frustrating thing about it is that it wasn't really even a chance that manifested due to them being down a man. Like, that could have happened 11 on 11. And you just you have to save it. You have to save it. I don't know what else to say about it. You have to save it. I
have to ask, was this the worst game in Stefan Frei's entire career?
Yeah, I think it was. Because usually, Steph is a club legend, MLS Cup MVP, one of the best players in club history. So we should say that. But he is good for at least one of these howlers a year.
Correct.
And I think that's sort of, if you go back throughout his career, might be one of the things that kept him, at least when he was younger, from maybe going to Europe, or maybe like going to play at a higher level than MLS, is that, he has a couple of those every so often. But he's been a great goalkeeper aside from those. It just does happen. But in this game, you have 2 in 1 game where really both of the goals that you concede should have been saved. And when you take into the context of everything else, I think this was the worst Frei game that I've seen. I mean, that game winner, it's...
Even the guy who scored it was like, I didn't mean to do that.
Shouldn't have,
that shouldn't have gone in.
He's praising God.
Yeah. Like, that's, I saw a lot of people also blaming our man's Cody Baker on that, which he does get beat with the pace, but like the thing is, if you watch the clip, he recovers and they push him all the way wide towards the sideline. He has no runners. The central is covered. Like, as a defender, you are going to get beat every once in a while. People are like, "Oh, you don't know anything about defensive positioning, Noah." I'm like, "All right, okay, that's fine, whatever." But they recover. It's a shot off the line. Like, it's like, the old Oba goal where he like chipped it from like 45 yards out on the end line. It was basically that, but like a dribbler. Yeah, he just smashed it. He smashed it right in. It goes Frei through Frei's legs. Yeah. Like, embarrassing. It's like, it is the perfect personification of this club this season and right now. And like, oh my God. When I saw that, I literally just got up. I was watching the game and I was watching it on my TV. I got up and I had to take a lap. I had to take a lap, Ari. I had to take a lap. Yeah, I was working, but I felt the same way. Should we hit the Schmetz hot seat debate real quick? I think we have to. Then we'll do agenda check. Then we'll do questions. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, the Schmetz hot seat debate was popping off in my mentions, and I get it. I don't blame anyone for feeling like that they want to see a change right now, and I think we both are kind of feeling the same way. I still don't know how much of a difference I really think a new coach would make. You might get a little bit of a short-term bump, but to me, the problem is a lot more about personnel and an aging roster and underperforming, non-productive DPs than it is about coaching or tactics. That's just how I see it. But like, I don't begrudge anyone just feeling fed up and that they want to see changes both on the roster and on the coaching staff. Like, I'm not going to tell anyone they're wrong for feeling that way.
Yeah, it's really hard to like accept that this has been the season that it is. And it's really hard to accept that there has been a structural failure from a roster building standpoint and maybe even from a coaching standpoint. I mean, I don't see how the lineup that they're rolling out every single week is, I just don't know. I think that at this point, and we've talked about it, when you reach a ceiling, you get complacent, and sometimes you have to shake things up and change things, whether that's bringing in big signings, which like Pedro de la Vega was meant to do, but he didn't. He's never going to play. And so at this point, like, they've done it before when they were in this position. I think it might be time. And you know what? I'm going to be honest. Bring in Gonzo.
A couple people actually suggested that. Low key might not be the worst idea. Bring him home. Brian
can be an assistant. That's fine.
Let's hit agenda check. I only have 2 written down because a lot of the guys that we normally talk about for agenda check didn't really do much in this game. Yeah. So I think it's really only worth talking about if the player in question does something to strengthen or diminish their agenda. And most of them didn't really do that this week. The first one I have written down, Noah, the Frei is washed, Andy T should start agenda. I mean, drastically strengthened.
Correct.
I don't really even think we need to get much into that. Andy T, the thing is, has been playing like an MLS number 1 this year. Mm-hmm. On that sequence on the game winner, I think he probably saves that.
I think he saves both of those shots.
I think he probably saves both of those shots.
I think if you put Andy T in that goal for this game, the Sounders come home with 3 points.
And listen, it's not about having any less love at all for Stephen Frei. I mean, out of anyone on the team that you could name, he has laid it all on the line for the badge and done as much, if not more, winning than arguably any goalkeeper in MLS history. No goalkeeper in MLS history has 2 MLS Cups and a Champions League title, okay?
And never a goalkeeper of the year.
And never won a goalkeeper of the year, snubbed every time. So it's not about that. It's just about like where things stand right now. And what you have is a veteran goalkeeper who's almost 40, who had one of the worst howlers, probably the worst howler of his career in a game where he also allowed a savable goal and has, let's be honest, he's allowed a few savable goals this season. I think he's still shown his previous level at times, but when you have Andy T outperforming him, you're going to get the debate over whether Andy T should be starting. And if it was me, I would start Andy T.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, like, to add a little bit to that, what do you do next season? Frei's gone. Okay, cool. Awesome. That's like, I think that's just a reality. Unless he's going to stay on as a backup or something, which I don't really think he would want to do, because I'm sure that somewhere would sign him, whether it's overseas, USL, whatever it is. But you give Andy T half a season to prepare to be a full starter, I don't know. It's like,
they extended Andy T, I think, with the likely with the thought that he was going to take over the
exactly.
role. Yeah.
So I think it's time to start that transition. I don't think that there's anything. I think you should, like, I saw some people saying you should blow it all up, blow the entire roster all up, because there's too many old guys. I'll take from that what you will, but I think that Stefan Frei is the perfect example of being really nostalgic and loving for our heroes, but not necessarily realizing that it's time to move on and that it is not a slight against them that you sign.
That's the
new
cycle
players.
of professional sports. Like,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
really all it is. The other one I had written down for agenda check was RBW, which I think is going to be a good discussion because, before the red card, I was thinking about the RBW agenda check, and I was going to talk about how it had kind of skyrocketed. It was cooking. He is a very talented attacking wide player. In a way that we've talked about this, but he's got a skill set in that regard that I don't think Cody Bakes really has, and definitely doesn't have the same upside with. And RBW is also, he's a dog on defense when he's got his full fitness and energy. So I think he just has this potential to be a very effective and potentially dynamic two-way player. And you saw that in this game. I mean, I love, having watched Leo Chu try and attack from out wide a lot over the last couple of years, seeing RBW take on a guy one-on-one and just moss him is very satisfying to watch. He puts in some good service. I could see him as a guy who has like a Jovan Jones type, like gaudy assist type season with that skill set. And I thought he was flexing all of that in this game. Like, I really did. And it's just so unfortunate to have it chalked by a red card when, like you said, he really should not have been on the field. He should have been subbed out before that. But I mean, I really did like what I saw from him in the game, other than the red card, which was just an insanely bad play. But I don't blame him for the red card all that much. Like, he shouldn't have been in that situation, and young players are going to make mistakes. But I still am going to call the agenda strengthened because I just really like what I'm seeing from him, particularly in the attacking end. I think this team needs that. And I think he has been showing like why he's such a highly rated prospect. I still think that, even in spite of the unfortunate way that his shift ended.
Yeah, listen, I was actually texting with Mark Kastner, one of our Standard Heart friends and friend of the pod. We loved RBW. Listen, are we the two resident Nuhu dislikers? Potentially, but you know what? Here's the thing about RBW. He gives you such dynamic attack and such dynamic transition that I haven't seen in a player since Jovan Jones.
Or Brad Smith had a little bit.
Brad Smith too. Yeah, Brad Smith. Sorry, Brad. We love you. But the thing is, he's still young and he's coming back from an injury, and working back from that, you have to like, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Sorry to horses, but it's like the coaching of a young player is just as important as the young player performing. That aside, if you go back to the 58th minute, the 57th, 58th minute, he makes this run from basically like he goes line to line from the top of the box. After he sends a cross in, Sporting Kansas City comes back to transition, and he makes his way all the way back to defend and cut out what would have been an attack. Who does that?
He was playing well on defense.
Yeah.
Like, he made a couple of really big clearances. His 1v1 defending, I thought, was pretty damn good for the most part. I don't know. I just think he's a fun, good, potentially really dynamic player. And the red card really did not dissuade me of how I feel about that. If anything, I was going to push this agenda pretty hard until he got thrown out of the game. So.
Yeah, even though he got thrown out of the game, I think that like people will take it on face value of like, damn, like he's so bad. Like, clearly, Nuhu wouldn't get this red card. You know what? Fair. Like, I don't think that Nuhu would have done that, but he also might have.
I mean, Nuhu got a red card like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Like I get it. But I'm happy to concede that. That said, like, there were 3 or 4 attacking chances that would not have come about if RBW wasn't on the field. Now, if we had someone to finish those chances, maybe we could have won.
He might have a couple of assists.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So,
all right.
agenda strengthened.
Agenda strengthened. We're calling it, even though he got the red card. Let's dive into questions, Noah, and then I really don't have all that much from around the league because there was only 4 games yesterday. So we'll hit these questions, briefly go around the league, and then get out of here for episode 42. That's
Ari, your mentions were absolutely exploded.
They were on fire. We're not going to get to every single one of these, but appreciate everyone who submitted. I always like seeing the discussion popping off, even though when I get that many replies, I don't necessarily read all of them. But
yeah, this one comes from Interpersonal. Leaving RBW on the pitch on a yellow in his first start in 7.5 months, 73 minutes into the game makes no sense. Leaving Chu on the bench 72 minutes in when we are torching their right side, but Raul doesn't have the speed to keep up with the play makes no sense. Ari, what is happening with this substitutioning?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're coming too late in the game. It's funny, like, I watched so many Sounders games that I've gotten used to the subs coming pretty late in the game, and I actually think there's been at least one instance in the last couple weeks where Schmetz made it more in like the 60s, that's when I want to see him more. I also watch a ton of New Mexico United games, obviously. That's the team I'm arguably the biggest fan of in the USL. And we have this new coach, Eric Quill, who I think he was an assistant for the Crew, former MLS player. And I've been watching our games, and he'll make subs in like the 55th and 60th minute, and I'm like, oh, thank you. That is enough time for these guys to actually impact the game. And sure enough, there's been a lot of games this year where New Mexico United has taken results off of goals and plays made by our subs who were put in the game early enough where they actually made an impact, So, seeing that, I'm like, damn, I feel like Schmetz could do that sometimes, But I mean, yeah, AP, you said it. RBW shouldn't have been on the pitch right there. We talked about that, but yeah, I mean, we can keep banging the drum all day, but I don't disagree with anyone who says that these subs should be coming earlier. I mean, when you make a sub even in the 75th and past it, it's just not a lot of time for a guy to actually make their mark on a game.
Yeah, I mean, this really was the worst Sounders match from head coaching down to roster that I have seen in a long time. And I think that like those decisions being made were very clear that like that there's, I don't know if it's indicative of the entirety of like the quality of everything, but the reality is that game, no one looked good, including the head coaches and assistants. But speaking of, we'll just keep banging on this drum because Bard asks, for no reason at all, who's your choice for a new head coach, Ari?
Oh, Gonzo. Easily. It makes sense. He just got fired. Bring him home. Honestly, I'll think about that more and might dish out some other names, but that's honestly the one that comes to mind right off rip.
Yeah. Ian Mitchell, thank you for being a subscriber. We love you. Ari, do I renew my season tickets? ?
I guess that question kind of depends on why you have them. Like everyone has a different reason for why they like being a fan of the team and why they like going to the games. If your investment in it is tied to results and tied to winning exclusively, then it might be making a negative impact on your life and your mental health to keep going to the games and to keep watching the games, in which case I say, if it's negative, if it's honestly like negatively affecting your life and your mental outlook, then you should evaluate whether it's something you want to continue to do. But, I imagine a lot of you are part of the scene for the community aspect of it, and you just like going to games to hang out with your friends and have a nice day outside or whatever the case may be. And if it brings you joy from those perspectives, I would just keep doing it and try and just detach yourselves from the results a little bit. The way I handle it when a team I support is in a poor run of form is I try and see the comedy in it and, make fun of them for the things that are going wrong, just because that's how I cope, at least. It's all up to the individual, I guess, and is what I'm saying. And why you like being a fan of the team. But if following a team that's struggling like this is negatively impacting you, I honestly just recommend that you not do it. Like you should be having fun with this, even if it's not going that great on the field. It should be something that's fun and brings you joy. So I don't know.
Yeah. Agreed. Poutine83 asks, has there ever been a less watchable Sounders team? 12 out of the 18 games with 1 goal or less.
Yeah, that's an interesting but not entirely surprising stat. We've talked a lot about this team's inability to score multiple goals in an MLS game, and 12 out of 18, that's not what you want. As far as if there's ever been a less watchable team, I mean, there have been bad runs of form before. First half of 2016 was famously really bad. There's been a couple other slow starts since then that have felt about this bad, but I think because we're in the moment right now, this feels really bad.
Yeah. This one comes from Andrea. Is there an acceptable time frame for when you can't beat the terrible teams that you become one of the terrible teams?
Yeah, there is. And we might be in that time frame. The sample size is not that small at this point.
Yeah, I'm ready to put the Sounders on terrible team.
They're not making all that compelling of a case to be off that watch.
Yeah, it's like how do you lose to Sporting Kansas City? Genuinely.
All right, terrible. When I think of terrible, I think of below 1 point per game. Seattle's at 1.06, so I think they're still technically in mediocre to mid-range than actively terrible, but 1.06 is very close to being below 1, okay? So that I think that kind of shows you where things stand.
We'll hit Daniels here. How much patience does this fan base have? And I guess the real question here is, where are we at as fans?
I think we've reached the point where the grace and equity from Champions League has worn off. It's been a long time now, and me personally, I think I gave as much equity on that as everyone, because I've said consistently that if you're talking about a trade between a playoff appearance that year and winning the Champions League title, I mean, you take CCL every time. And also those runs admittedly take a lot out of you, and it's not necessarily realistic for you to perform at your peak level during your league season after a tournament like that. But that was it was 2 years ago at this point. You missed the playoffs once already since then. You had a first round exit out of the playoffs in the year after that where you got shut out at home. And now you have a start of the next season where you're performing at a 1.06 points per game clip, which that ain't up to the standard that this club has established. And I really, as emotional as Sounders fans can get sometimes, I really don't begrudge the frustration right now, especially after a game like that where you just lose in such agonizing fashion. Patience is wearing thin, and it should be. It should be.
Barbara here asks, Ari, have the boys given up?
I don't know. Do you see it as an effort thing?
A little bit. I mean, I don't know if it's giving up. I think that the way that I look at it is the very clear momentum shifts that happen once they score, the 15 minutes after they score, and then the 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes after conceding. Because I think there's a mental hurdle there where they know that they're so anemic on offense that leaking a goal, conceding a goal, it's almost like a nail in the coffin. It's deflating. And that I really, truly do see that. You can see that statistically. We all know I'm not a stats guy. We know I'm a vibes guy. But the stats back up the vibes on this one. If you look at the attacking peaks, it's 15 minutes after the Sounders score, every single time they're conceding a goal, and then the rest of the game they're chasing.
And they're just getting really dumb red cards.
Yeah, they're getting upset. They're getting frustrated. They're feeling like there's no hope left. And I think this is like this sounds like a stupid question, but I think it's a genuinely like good question.
It is a good question, especially like when I see like the like not all red cards are the same thing. Like the Nuhu red card is one thing, he's trying to make a play and it goes off his hand in the box. But like the Alex Roldan red card and the RBW red card, which were just like moments of losing your head. And in the Alex Roldan case, like frustration and frankly a dirty play. RBW's wasn't like a dirty play, but it's just a mental lapse, you know? I don't think that's giving up, but it's just like, it's like your head's just not in it, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
It's costing them points.
It's more than costing them points. It's potentially costing them their jobs
in the season, you know?
Yeah. Well, thank you all for your questions. That was incredibly depressing.
Yeah, that was, wow. What a depressing episode. Like I said, there's really not all that much. I'm not even going to do winners and losers because there was only 4 games and not a lot happened in any of them that was of note.
The 2 worst teams did win though, which is funny.
I guess that is true. So the New England Revolution beat the Red Bulls 1-0 at Gillette Stadium, which that was pretty surprising, I guess, because the Revs have been one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the league this year. But they've now won 2 straight. But they beat the Red Bulls, who've been pretty good this year.
Yeah, they've been pretty good.
So Caleb Porter stock up.
Yeah.
Not really.
Question mark?
The Loons tied FC Dallas 1-1 at home, which was not a good result for Minnesota.
No.
FC Dallas has been another one of the worst teams in the league this year, and Minnesota has been cooking with their new head coach and without their DP. One of their DPs went missing and quit the team, and the other one's just not really producing. And they've still been an upper tier team in the West, so you would expect them to handle FC Dallas at home, and they didn't. But I'm honestly not all that concerned about Minnesota United. I think they're a good team. And then the Timbies didn't get all that good of a result. They tied St. Louis City 0-0 on the road, I believe, which... they'd got a point from their road game, which Seattle didn't. But the Timbies, the thing about the Timbies is, like they're bad in a way that's at least entertaining. At least this year, like they've been scoring a ton of goals. Evander's stuff in the stat sheet, he's scoring bangers. They're really good on offense, to be honest. But they passionately love conceding goals. It's like their number one passion in life is giving other teams goals.
Yeah,
the Portland Timbers. But it's been sort of the same result points wise as what Seattle has been putting forth.
It's way easier to watch that type of L.
Yeah, like I would say that's kind of what the point I was getting to is, like I would rather be bad in that way than in the boring and never scoring type way that Seattle is, because at least Timbers fans get to watch like a dynamic team on offense that scores a lot of bangers and scores a lot of goals in general.
And having Evander is just such a good bit. It's just like, I wouldn't be mad if we had him,
No, exactly. I mean, and he's having a good year.
Yeah,
like,
he finally unlocked.
As much fun as we make of him, like he's putting up stats. So, but like what I was gonna say is that like this Timbers did not live up to that in this game. I mean, they got 0-0'd. So, it's not a bad road point for them, but it wasn't like as dynamic a showing as the Timbers have been had a propensity for putting up on offense. They have the most goals except for Real Salt Lake in the West.
That's crazy.
But so the way that the standings shape out after that, Portland's in 9th place at 21 points, 5-7-6, and Seattle's in 10th. They have 18 points from 17 matches. 3 points shy of a playoff spot right now. So, not great. Who do they play next?
We play at home. I know that.
At home against Minnesota United on the 15th. Folks, I'm going to be out of town at that game. I have another wedding. Apparently, everyone I know is getting married this
You're not
year.
going to be missing anything.
I have like 3 or 4. I'm not all that bummed to miss it. I have like 3 or 4 more weddings before this year is over. It's a disaster. But I will be keeping tabs on what happens in the game, and we will lay down a show about it. It might be a little later than usual. We'll keep you all posted on that. But I am not actually going to be at the game when the Sounders take on Minnesota United at Lumen Field.
Don't worry, I'll get you a Sammy Sounder bobblehead.
Appreciate that. Let's call it a wrap right there for episode 42. We went pretty long on this one, I think. So we'll call it right there. Thank you all to everyone who continually tunes into the show. Hopefully everyone's as excited as we are for our new platform over at Sounder at Heart. We'll keep you posted on the details with all that. Thank you to all our paid subs. Thank you to all our listeners. Everyone go subscribe to the Lobbing Scorchers YouTube.
Yeah.
We're up past 115 or something subs. We need more subs, though.
We need more subs.
Sub to our YouTube. Appreciate all the support. We're going to get out of here until episode 43. Until then, we out.
Peace.